They banned human intervention, so Earth arrived uninvited. Part 1: The Edict. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council floated high above the green clouds of Prime. It was a station made of crystal and light, built by races older than Earth's first cities. Here, the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy gathered to make laws that all others had to follow. Park stood at the center of this hall, feeling very small. She was Earth's ambassador, a woman of 53 years with gray hair pulled back tight and eyes that never looked away from trouble. Around her rose the council members in their seats of power. Some had scales. Some had too many eyes. Some did not have bodies at all, only clouds of thinking gas held in special containers. High Arbiter sat highest of all. He was from the race, a creature like a giant insect made of polished stone. His 6 eyes studied the way a cat studies a mouse. "The matter before us today is simple," said. His voice came from a translator box, cold and without feeling. "The Dominion has begun military action against the system. We must decide how the Council will respond." Knew what was coming. She had spent 3 weeks trying to stop it. They were a peaceful species. They looked something like large rabbits with silver fur and gentle faces. They had no army. They had no weapons. They spent their days farming and studying the stars. When the warships appeared in their sky, they had sent desperate messages to every corner of the galaxy, begging for help. They were the opposite of they were conquerors. Their empire stretched across 200 worlds, all of them taken by force. They looked like tall insects with red shells and claws that could cut through metal. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who tried to stop them. "The Council has considered this matter carefully," continued. "We have decided that no species shall interfere in the situation. They have claimed that world as part of their territorial expansion. Under galactic law, this is their right." A murmur went through the watching crowd. Some species looked uncomfortable, others seemed pleased. Raised her hand. "I request permission to speak." Made a sound like stones grinding together. It might have been annoyance. "The human representative may speak." Stepped forward. Her translator device hummed against her throat, turning her words into sounds that all species could understand. "High Arbiter, with respect, they are not soldiers. They are farmers and teachers and scientists. They will not simply conquer them. They will enslave them. They will work them to death in mines and factories. Children will be separated from their parents. Families will be destroyed." She paused, looking around the great hall. "We all know this. We have seen what they do to the worlds they take." "The practices of thee are not the Council's concern," replied. "Each species governs itself according to its own customs." "So slavery is just a custom now?" asked. "Murder is just a cultural difference?" The hall went very quiet. Several council members shifted in their seats. Speaking to the High Arbiter this way was considered extremely rude. Leaned forward, his 6 eyes narrowing. "Ambassador Park, humanity has been a member of this council for only 3 centuries. In that time, your species has intervened in 17 different conflicts across the galaxy. You have armed rebels. You have destroyed military installations. You have removed lawful governments from power." "We saved lives," said. "You caused chaos." His voice grew harder. "The galaxy has systems, ambassador, rules, order. These things exist because they work. When one species decides that its own sense of right and wrong is more important than the laws everyone has agreed upon, that species becomes a danger to all others." Another council member spoke up. This was representative, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish filled with purple light. "Perhaps the human ambassador does not understand. They are powerful. If other species begin to interfere in their expansion, it could lead to a wider war. Millions could die." "Millions are already dying," said. "Right now, today, while we stand here and talk." "That is regrettable," replied, "but it is not our concern." Looked around the great hall. She saw faces that would not meet her eyes. She saw species that had the power to stop with a single command but chose not to use it. She saw fear hiding behind noble words about law and order. She understood something in that moment. The council did not refuse to help because of rules or customs. They refused because they were afraid. They were strong, and the council was weak in the only way that truly mattered. They did not have the courage to do what was right when doing right was dangerous. Spoke again, his tone final. This council will now vote on Edict 7741. The motion states that no species shall intervene in conflicts beyond their designated territorial sphere. All those in favor. 11 lights appeared above 11 seats, glowing green for yes. One light glowed red, Earth's light. The motion passes, announced. Edict 7741 is now galactic law. Any species that violates this edict will face severe consequences, including removal from the council and economic punishment. Stood perfectly still, her face showed nothing. Inside, her heart was beating very fast. Ambassador Park said, "Do you have anything more to say?" Smiled. It was a strange smile, small and secret, the kind of smile a person wears when they know something that others do not. Only this, High Arbiter. Earth is a lawful member of this council. We will follow the rules that have been established. She bowed her head slightly. We will exercise restraint, officially. That word hung in the air, officially. His eyes blinked, one after another, processing her meaning. But before he could respond, turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silent hall. Representative drifted closer to the High Arbiter. What did she mean by that? Watched the human ambassador disappear through the great doors. A strange feeling moved through his ancient mind. It took him a moment to recognize what it was. Worry. I do not know, he admitted, but I suspect we will find out. Far below the Crystal Station, in a small shuttle heading back to the human embassy ship, Park sat alone. She pulled out a communication device, one that used old Earth technology, the kind that could not be tracked by council systems. She typed a short message and sent it to an address that did not officially exist. The message said only, "Green light, proceed." Then she erased all evidence that the message had ever been sent, leaned back in her seat, and closed her eyes. On a dark moon at the edge of human space, a man named Lee received that message. He read it twice, then destroyed the device. He smiled. Finally, he said to the empty room, time to do some good. The first part of the plan was complete. Earth had promised to follow the rules. But nobody had said anything about the people who were about to stop being Earth's soldiers and become something else entirely. Something that did not exist on any record. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Ghosts with guns, angels with no names, humans who had decided that some laws deserved to be broken. They did not know it yet, but help was coming. And the Dominion had no idea what was about to hit them. The Pacific Ocean was black and endless under a sky with no moon. On nights like this, the water looked like space itself, dark and deep and full of secrets. Colonel Lee stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the stars appear one by one above the clouds. He was a tall man of 45 years, with a face that had seen too many battles and eyes that still believed in fighting the right ones. His uniform had no markings. His ship had no flag. Tonight, he and everyone under his command would become no one. The Defiance was Earth's stealth carrier, a ship designed to be invisible. Its hull was covered in special material that ate light and radar signals. Its engines ran so quiet that fish swimming below would not hear them. Even its heat signature was hidden, recycled back into the ship's systems until the whole vessel was as cold as the space around it. 15 ships floated in formation around the Defiance. They came in different sizes, from small attack craft to medium cruisers, but they all shared the same features. No names on their sides, No identification codes in their computers. No connection to any government or military that could be traced. Lieutenant worked at the tactical station, her fingers moving fast across glowing screens. She was young, only 28, but she had already fought in 3 secret operations that would never appear in any history book. Her job was to make sure that when they fought tonight and in the days to come, they fought smart. "All ships report ready, Colonel," she said. "Skeleton crews only. Every person has signed the waiver." Nodded slowly. The waiver was a simple document, but signing it was not a simple choice. Everyone who put their name on that paper was agreeing to become a ghost. If they were captured, Earth would deny knowing them. If they died, no medals would be given. Their families would be told they had died in a training accident, and the truth would be buried in files that no one would ever read. These men and women were giving up everything, their identities, their futures, maybe their lives, for strangers on a planet most of them had never seen. Had asked each of them personally, "Are you sure?" Every single one had said yes. Commander appeared at his side. She was the fleet's navigation officer, a woman of 50 with silver-streaked hair and a mind that could calculate jump coordinates faster than most computers. She held a data pad showing a map of the galaxy, with a red line drawn through a region marked with warning symbols. "The hollow expanse," she said, "that's our path." Studied the map. The hollow expanse was a region of space that no one understood. Gravity behaved strangely there. Stars appeared and disappeared without explanation. Ships went in and did not come out. The Council had sent 3 exploration missions to chart it, and all 3 had vanished without a trace. "The Council monitors all the normal jump routes," continued. "If we use any of them, they'll see us coming from light years away. But they don't watch the expanse because they think no one is crazy enough to fly through it." "Are we crazy enough?" asked. Smiled, but there was steel behind it. "I've been studying the expanse for 6 months. I think I understand it. The gravity wells follow patterns, but the patterns are very old and very strange. If we time our jumps perfectly and follow the path I've calculated, we should make it through." Should. 73% chance of success. Thought about that number. Almost 3 out of 10 that they would all die before even reaching the battle. But then he thought about the millions of innocent people waiting for death or slavery, and the number started to feel acceptable. "What's our timeline?" he asked. "The fleet will reach Prime in 72 hours. If we leave now and everything goes right, we'll arrive 6 hours before them. Enough time to prepare a welcome." Turned to face his bridge crew. These were people he had served with for years. He trusted them more than he trusted himself. "You all know what we're doing," he said. "We're breaking galactic law. We're going against the Council's direct orders. If we're caught, Earth will say they never heard of us and they'll be telling the truth. The moment we leave this planet, we stop being soldiers. We become pirates, terrorists, criminals, whatever name the galaxy wants to give us." He paused, looking at each face in turn. "But we'll also be the only thing standing between thee and complete destruction. We'll be the people who showed up when no one else would, and maybe that matters more than following rules that protect the strong and ignore the weak." He straightened his shoulders. "Anyone who wants to leave, this is your last chance. No judgment, no shame." No one moved. Spoke first. "With respect, Colonel, we didn't sign up because we had to. We signed up because we wanted to." Nodded. "The Council made their choice. Now we're making ours." Felt something warm in his chest. Pride maybe, or hope. "Then let's get moving," he said. "Take us up." The 15 ships rose from the dark ocean, water streaming from their hulls like tears. They climbed through the atmosphere without sound, without light, without any signal that could be detected. By the time they reached orbit, the only evidence they had ever been there was a slight disturbance in the waves below. Earth's defense network saw them, of course. You could not hide from your own systems. But the officers watching those screens had received special orders that night. Orders that said, very clearly, that any ships departing from the Pacific sector should be logged as sensor errors and forgotten immediately. Plausible deniability. That was what the politicians called it. If no one officially saw the ships leave, then no one could officially be blamed for where they went. High in orbit, the fleet gathered at the edge of Earth's gravity well. Beyond them, the stars waited. Input the first jump coordinates. Her hands were steady, but noticed a small tremor in her voice when she spoke. Hollow expanse approach vector locked. First jump in 30 seconds. Opened a channel to all ships. This is the Colonel, I won't lie to you. The next few hours are going to be dangerous. Some of us might not make it through. But I want you to remember something. We're not doing this for glory or for money or for Earth's reputation. We're doing this because somewhere out there, children are hiding in basements while bombs fall on their homes. Parents are praying to gods they don't believe in, hoping for a miracle. He took a breath. We're that miracle, whether the galaxy likes it or not. The countdown reached 0. The first ship jumped, vanishing into a tear in space that glowed briefly blue before closing. Then the second, then the third. The Defiance was last. As the jump drive activated and reality twisted around them, whispered a prayer of his own, not to any god, but to the people waiting on Prime. Hold on, he said, we're coming. The fleet entered the hollow expanse. Behind them, Earth turned slowly in the light of its sun, officially knowing nothing about the 15 ships that had just broken every rule the galaxy held sacred. The journey through the expanse would take 18 hours. 18 hours of navigating through impossible gravity and watching sensors go crazy and hopping that calculations were right. And then, if they survived, they would face an enemy fleet that outnumbered them more than 10 to 1. But Colonel Lee had faced bad odds before. And humans, as the galaxy was about to learn, had a way of making bad odds work. Had conquered 47 worlds. He had burned cities and crushed armies and watched entire species bow before him. In all his years of war, he had never felt fear. Today, standing on the command deck of his flagship Blood of Empire, he felt something close to it. His fleet filled the sky above Prime like a swarm of angry insects. 200 warships, each one bristling with weapons capable of melting mountains. Below them, the planet's surface was with fire. Cities that had stood for 1,000 years were now rubble. Forests that had taken centuries to grow were ash blowing in the wind. They were broken. Their planetary shields flickered and weakened with each passing hour. Their few defensive weapons had been destroyed in the first wave of attacks. Now they huddled in underground shelters, waiting for the end. Clicked his mandibles with satisfaction. The conquest was almost complete. Said his tactical officer, a younger named. Planetary shields will fail within 6 rotations. Ground forces are prepared for subjugation protocols. Subjugation protocols, a clean word for dirty work. That would be sorted, the strong sent to labor camps, the weak eliminated, the children taken to be trained as servants. Their culture would be erased. Their history would be forgotten. In a generation, they would be nothing more than tools for the Dominion. This was the natural order of things. The strong took from the weak. It had always been so. Excellent, said. Begin final bombardment of the... Alarm screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed across the bridge. What is that? Demanded. Stared at his sensor screens, his face twisting with confusion. We're detecting ships. 15 vessels emerging from the hollow expanse. Turned sharply. Impossible, nothing survives the expanse. They're broadcasting no identification, continued, his voice rising with alarm. No flags, no codes there. He stopped, his eyes widening. They're human design. The hull configurations match Earth stealth carriers. For a long moment did not speak. He watched the new contacts appear on the tactical display, 15 small dots facing his 200, a ridiculous mismatch, an insult. But something cold moved through his chest anyway. "Humans cannot be here," he said slowly. "The Council issued an edict. They are forbidden from intervening." "Perhaps they didn't get the message," said weakly. Grabbed a communication device and opened a channel to the human fleet. His voice filled the space between them, harsh and threatening. "Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Galactic Council law. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed." A moment of silence, then a voice came back, calm and almost friendly. "My name is not important. My rank is not important. My government has no idea I'm here and would strongly deny it if asked. I'm just a man with some friends and some ships, and I'm here to tell you that your siege ends today." His mandibles clicked with angry laughter. "You have 15 ships, I have 200. You are outnumbered and far from home. What kind of fool are you?" "The kind who doesn't like watching civilians get slaughtered," the voice replied. "The kind who thinks rules shouldn't protect bullies. The kind who came all this way just to ruin your day." On the bridge of the Defiance, Colonel Lee smiled as he spoke into the communicator. His ship shook slightly as it moved into attack position. Around him, his crew worked with focused intensity, every person knowing exactly what they needed to do. The journey through the hollow expanse had been terrible. 3 times they had nearly lost ships to impossible gravity. Twice they had passed through regions where space itself seemed to twist and scream. But calculations had been right, and all 15 ships had made it through. Now they faced the real test. "Colonel," said from the tactical station, "enemy fleet is moving to engage. They're sending their fast attack ships first, 60 vessels closing fast." "Expected," said. "Thinks he can crush us with numbers before we do any real damage. He's underestimating us." He switched to the fleet-wide channel. "All ships execute Pattern 17. Use the debris field for cover, make them chase us, waste their energy and ammunition. And remember, we're not here to win a straight fight. We're here to break their will." Pattern 17 was a human invention, developed through centuries of being smaller and weaker than enemies who should have destroyed them. It was a way of fighting that used speed and cleverness and patience instead of brute force. The human ships scattered, diving toward the rings of rubble that orbited Prime. Attack craft followed, firing weapons that turned space into a storm of light and heat. But the humans were hard to hit. They moved in patterns that the targeting systems could not predict: sudden turns, impossible accelerations, moments of stillness followed by bursts of speed. They used the planet's gravity to slingshot around attacks. They hid behind tumbling asteroids and emerged from unexpected angles. And they hit back. Fired a spread of missiles at a cruiser. The cruiser tried to dodge, but the missiles adjusted, swarming toward their target like angry bees. The explosion lit up the void, and when it faded, the cruiser was debris. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships striking fast and disappearing, ships dying in fire and confusion. Watched the tactical display with growing disbelief. In the first hour, he lost 23 ships. In the second hour, 19 more. His vessels were destroying themselves trying to catch enemies that seemed to know their movements before they made them. "How are they doing this?" he roared. No one had an answer. By the fourth hour, the fleet was in chaos. Ships were refusing to advance, their crews too frightened by the ghosts that killed from shadow. 63 vessels had been destroyed. Dozens more were damaged, and the humans had lost only 2 ships. Stared at the display, watching his empire's power crumble before 15 unmarked vessels. Said quietly, "We should consider retreat." "I have never retreated." "You have never faced this." Said nothing. His 6 claws gripped the railing of his command platform hard enough to leave marks in the metal. Then the worst possible thing happened. A boarding pod struck the flagship. Sergeant Sara led her team through the breach, her weapon firing before her feet hit the deck. Guards fell before they could raise their claws. The human soldiers moved through the ship like water, flowing around resistance, always advancing. Heard the fighting approach the bridge. He drew his personal blade, a weapon that had killed dozens of enemies in personal combat. The door exploded inward. Sara walked through the smoke. She was a woman of 30, not tall, not physically imposing. But her eyes were the eyes of someone who had made peace with death and found it didn't scare her anymore. She said, "Your fleet is broken, your ship is taken. You are under arrest for war crimes against the people." "War crimes?" laughed, bitter and harsh. "I followed the laws of my people. I conquered as we have always conquered. The galaxy allowed it." "The galaxy made a mistake." Sara raised her weapon, put down the blade. "The Council will destroy you for this. Your Earth will burn." Sara shrugged. "Maybe, but you won't be there to see it. Now put down the blade or I'll put you down instead." For a long moment, held the weapon. Everything in his nature screamed at him to fight, to die with honor, to take at least one more enemy with him. But then he looked at the woman's eyes and saw something that broke his will. She wasn't afraid, not even slightly. She would kill him and move on, and she wouldn't lose a second of sleep over it. The blade clattered to the floor. Sara's team moved in, putting restraints on his claws. As they led him away, Sara keyed her communicator. "Flagship secured, Colonel, in custody. The fleet is scattering." His voice came back, tired but satisfied. "Good work, Sergeant. All ships cease fire. Let them run. We've made our point." On the surface of Prime, people emerged from their shelters and looked up at the sky. The bombardment had stopped. The enemy was fleeing. Against all hope, against all reason, they had been saved. Many of them wept. High above, the 15 unmarked ships gathered around the captured flagship. They had come from nowhere, saved a world, and would soon vanish again. The galaxy had just learned a lesson it would not soon forget. When Earth made a promise, it kept it. Even when they promised to do nothing at all. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so loud. Representatives from 100 species shouted over each other, their translator devices struggling to keep up with the chaos. Holographic displays showed footage of the battle at Prime, human ships tearing through the fleet, boarding pods striking warships, a defeated being led away in chains. High Arbiter struck the ceremonial bell 3 times, and slowly, reluctantly, the chamber fell silent. "Ambassador Park of Earth," said, his voice cold as ice, "you will answer for this crime." Sat in the center of the chamber, alone, facing the fury of the galaxy's most powerful beings. She looked remarkably calm for a woman whose planet stood accused of breaking the most important law in galactic history. "I am prepared to discuss the matter," she said simply. Representative, the floating jellyfish creature, drifted forward. "Discuss? There is nothing to discuss. 15 Earth warships attacked a lawful military operation. They killed thousands of soldiers. They captured this is an act of war." "Is it?" asked. "Please show me the evidence that links those ships to Earth." Purple light flickered with frustration. "We have analyzed the debris. The weapons' signatures match Earth technology. The hull materials contain elements found only in human manufacturing. You have proven that the ships were built using human methods," interrupted. "You have not proven that they were sent by my government." "Who else would send them?" another representative demanded. This was a massive being made of living rock who spoke for the miners of the outer reaches. "Who else has the capability?" "I have no idea," said with a straight face. "Pirates, perhaps, mercenaries, private military organizations. The galaxy is full of groups that operate outside official channels." She spread her hands. "Earth's military registry shows no vessels unaccounted for. All of our ships are exactly where they should be. Whatever happened at Prime had nothing to do with my government." The chamber exploded with protests. struck the bell again. "You expect us to believe," he said slowly, "that 15 heavily armed warships spontaneously appeared from the hollow expanse, a region that no one has ever successfully navigated, attacked the most powerful military force in the sector, and then vanished, all without any connection to Earth?" "I expect nothing," replied. "I am simply telling you what our records show. If you have proof that Earth ordered this action, please present it." Silence. Because there was no proof. The ships had carried no flags. The soldiers had carried no identification. The communications had been untraceable. Every single piece of evidence was circumstantial, and knew it. Six eyes narrowed. "This is insulting. You sit before the highest authority in the galaxy and lie to our faces." "I sit before the highest authority in the galaxy and tell you what I know." His voice hardened slightly. "But since we are discussing the situation, perhaps we should discuss other aspects of it as well." "What other aspects?" Reached into her coat and produced a small data chip. "The fleet attacked Prime 3 weeks ago. During that attack, they somehow bypassed the planet's advanced warning systems. Do you know how? Because someone gave them the classified council codes that told them when those systems would be weakest." A murmur went through the chamber. "Furthermore," continued, "the monitoring stations along the border experienced simultaneous technical failures during the initial invasion. All 7 stations went dark at exactly the same moment. What an extraordinary coincidence." Stoneface was impossible to read, but his 6 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress in his species. "What are you suggesting?" he asked carefully. "I am suggesting that someone on this council wanted them to succeed. Someone provided them with information that made the conquest easier. Someone ensured that no help would reach them in time." Looked around the chamber, meeting eyes where she could find them. "Perhaps instead of investigating Earth, the council should investigate itself." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then said quietly, "You have no proof of these accusations." "No," admitted, "I don't, just like you have no proof of yours." She smiled that thin, dangerous smile again. "Isn't it interesting how that works?" The message was clear. If the council pushed Earth, Earth would push back, and the secrets that came out might be far more damaging than the Battle of Prime. Considered his options. He was old enough to know when he was beaten. The humans had planned this carefully. They had left themselves no official connection to the attack, while also gathering enough evidence of council corruption to create a scandal that could tear the government apart. It was beautifully done. He almost admired it. "The council will continue its investigation," he said finally. "Ambassador Park, you are dismissed." Stood and bowed slightly. "Thank you, High Arbiter. Earth remains committed to peaceful cooperation with all member species. We hope this unfortunate situation can be resolved quickly and quietly." She walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. At the door, she paused and turned back. "One more thing," she said. "They have begun receiving humanitarian aid, ships carrying food, medicine, and reconstruction supplies. They fly no flags and carry no official markings. I'm sure they're just charitable pirates." She left. Representative drifted close to. "What do we do now? They will demand revenge. They will want us to punish Earth. And if we try, Earth will release whatever information they have about Council involvement in the invasion." Made a sound like grinding stones, the equivalent of a sigh. "We do nothing. The complaint will be investigated until everyone forgets about it. The humans will face no consequences. They will receive their aid, and we will all pretend that this never happened. But the principle of the thing. The principle died the moment we chose to let the slaughter innocents." Turned away from the chamber, suddenly feeling every one of his 1,000 years. The humans simply reminded us of that fact. Across the galaxy, the news spread. At first just whispers, then louder voices, then shouts. Earth had done it. They had broken the rules, saved a dying world, and faced no punishment. The powerful species grumbled and worried. This was dangerous. This was destabilizing. If humans could do this once, they could do it again. But the weaker species, the ones who lived in fear of conquest, who huddled in the shadows of empires that could crush them at any moment, they heard something different. They heard hope. On 17 different worlds, in 17 different languages, the same question was being asked. How do we contact Earth? Not officially, of course. Not through government channels or diplomatic missions. That would be too obvious. But there were other ways, secret ways, the kind of ways that left no evidence. Ambassador Park received the first message 3 days after the council meeting. It came through an anonymous channel, routed through a dozen different systems to hide its origin. The message was simple. We are the Praxis hegemony is coming for our world. Please help. Read the message, then forwarded it to a special address that did not officially exist. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, Colonel Lee received a notification on a device that was supposed to be destroyed. He read the message and smiled. Looks like we're not retiring after all, he said to himself. The galaxy had wanted Earth to stop interfering. Earth had tried, but some habits were hard to break. And humans, it seemed, had a terrible habit of helping people who needed it. Officially, Earth's ghost fleet no longer existed. Unofficially, it was about to get very busy. The city of Prime's capital had been beautiful once. Tall spires of silver metal had reached toward the sky. Gardens of crystalline flowers had lined every street. Children had played in parks where artificial waterfalls made music as they fell. Now it was ruins. Dr. Hanmiso walked through the rubble, her boots crunching on broken glass and burned stone. She wore no uniform, carried no flag, and her identification said she worked for a private medical charity based on a space station that did not actually exist. She was part of the private humanitarian mission that had arrived 2 days after the battle. 40 ships carrying doctors, engineers, builders, and enough supplies to feed 1 million people for a year. They had come from nowhere, just like the warships before them, and they asked for nothing in return except the chance to help. They did not understand it. In their experience, no one helped without wanting something. Miso had tried to explain. Sometimes people just help, she had said, because it's right, because someone should. The she spoke to had looked at her with large, gentle eyes filled with confusion. This is not how the galaxy works. Maybe it should be, Miso had replied. Now she stood in what had been a children's hospital. The walls had collapsed. The medical equipment was melted slag. But somehow, impossibly, a small section of the building still stood. Medical workers had set up a makeshift clinic there, treating the wounded with whatever supplies they could find. Miso had spent the morning working alongside them, treating burn victims and broken bones and the deep psychological wounds that would take generations to heal. It was exhausting work, heartbreaking work, but she would not have been anywhere else. As the sun began to set through the haze of smoke that still covered the sky, a small figure approached her. It was a child, perhaps 6 or 7 years old by human counting. Her silver fur was matted and dirty. Burn marks ran across her left shoulder, but her eyes were clear and curious. "You are the human," the child said. Her translator device hung around her neck on a cord, turning her chirping speech into words Miso could understand. "I am a human," Miso agreed, kneeling to be at the child's level. "My name is Miso. What's yours?" The child studied her with the fearless curiosity of the young. "The Sky Warriors who saved us. They were humans too." Miso hesitated. The official answer was that she did not know who the Sky Warriors were. The truth was more complicated. "Yes," she said finally, "they were humans. But the council said humans were not allowed to help us." "That's true, they did say that." His head tilted to one side. Then why did the humans come? Miso thought about how to answer. How did you explain to a child that sometimes adults made terrible rules, and sometimes other adults had to break those rules to do what was right? Do you know what a promise is? She asked. Nodded. When you say you will do something and then you do it. That's right. Well, a long time ago, humans made a promise to themselves. They promised that if they ever had the power to help people who were suffering, they would use that power, even if it was dangerous, even if it was against the rules, even if no one else thought they should. Why? Because, Miso paused, remembering the lessons of Earth's long and bloody history, the times when help had come too late, the times when no help had come at all, the graves that marked what happened when good people did nothing. Because humans know what it feels like to be alone, to be afraid, to wait for help that never comes. We remember that feeling and we promised ourselves that we would never let other people feel it if we could prevent it. Was quiet for a moment, processing this. Then she asked, but the Sky Warriors could be punished. Your people could suffer because they broke the rules. Maybe. Miso reached into her medical kit and pulled out a small piece of candy. She had brought a whole bag of them from Earth, knowing that children everywhere on every world liked sweet things. But some things matter more than rules. Some things matter more than being safe. She held out the candy, took it carefully as if it were a precious treasure. She unwrapped it and put it in her mouth, and her eyes widened at the taste. It's good, she said, surprised. Miso smiled. It's chocolate, we grow it on Earth. Maybe someday when your world is rebuilt, you can come visit and try more. I would like that. Looked up at the sky, where the first stars were beginning to appear through the smoke. Will the Sky Warriors come back if someone else needs help? I don't know, Miso said honestly, but I think, if someone needs them badly enough, they'll find a way. Far above the planet, hidden in an asteroid field that no scanners would think to search, the Ghost Fleet waited. Colonel Lee stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, looking down at the world they had saved. Lights were coming on in the rebuilt sections of the capital. Power was being restored. Life was beginning again. New message from command, said, appearing at his side. The situation is confirmed. The Praxis hegemony has moved 30 warships to their border. Invasion expected within 2 weeks. Nodded slowly, crew status. Ready, sir. We've taken on supplies and made repairs. Everyone's asking when we move out. In morale. Smiled high, very high. They saw what we did here. They want to do it again. Turned away from the window. Then we give them the chance. Set course for the system. We'll do a reconnaissance first, figure out what we're dealing with. Yes, sir. Paused. Sir, you know the council is watching now. They'll be looking for us. Every jump we make, every system we enter, we risk being caught. I know. And you want to do it anyway. Thought about the question. He thought about his career, which was officially over. His reputation, which was officially destroyed. His future, which officially did not exist. He had given up everything for this mission, and now he was about to risk what little he had left. I had a daughter, he said quietly. She died when she was 12, bone disease. The doctors tried everything, but in the end there was nothing anyone could do. Said nothing, she had not known this about him. When she was sick, strangers sent us messages, people we had never met. They sent prayers and hope and promises that they were thinking of us. Most of them couldn't do anything practical to help, but they reached out anyway. They reminded us that we weren't alone. He looked back at the lights on the planet below. That's what we're doing for a whole galaxy. We're reminding them that someone cares, that help exists. That when the darkness comes, there are people who will walk into it just to hold your hand. He straightened his shoulders. Send a message to tell them to hold on, tell them we're coming. What about the council? Let them watch, let them hunt. They'll never catch us, and even if they do, there will be others. Humans who hear the story and decide to pick up where we left off. That's how we are. That's how we've always been. We don't know how to stop. The Ghost Fleet powered up its engines and slipped away into the darkness between stars. On 17 different worlds, copies of the same message were being received. It had been sent through channels that could not be traced, written in codes that could not be broken. The message said, "Earth doesn't wait for permission to do what's right. If you need help, find a way to ask. We'll find a way to answer." The Galactic Council had spent 3 centuries trying to understand humanity, trying to predict them, trying to control them. They were only now beginning to realize the truth. Humans did not break rules out of defiance or chaos, or any desire to cause trouble. They broke rules because the rules were wrong. And when the powerful refused to protect the weak, when the laws failed those who needed them most, when hope seemed dead and darkness seemed endless, humanity would arrive, uninvited, unannounced, and utterly unapologetic, because that was who they were, and no law in the galaxy could change it.